Good morning, Algebra 2. Today we're going to solve absolute value inequalities, basic type problems on notes number 14, so please have a piece of paper out. The essential question is, what are the differences between solving absolute value equations versus inequalities? So equations have equal sign, inequality has greater than or less than or equal to symbols, so that's the difference between the words. Today we're going to do inequalities. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to say that I can solve an absolute value inequality algebraically by flipping the inequality symbol over as the new extra step. You have homework tonight. It's assignment number 15. See the last slide in this presentation for the 4 homework problems. And then also there will be a PDF, which just means it's a document on Google Classroom if you have a printer for that homework. But otherwise, please see the last slide in this presentation for your 4 homework problems. Excuse me. So this is going to be notes number 14. Please hit pause while you copy down these notes. Okay, so you're going to isolate the absolute value first. You're going to write the inequality twice, which is nothing new. Once exactly as the original problem, so once with a positive, and this is what is new, once with the symbol flipped and the right side changed to the negative. So once with the positive, once with the negative, but you flip the symbol on the negative. Okay, so what else is new today is you have to graph your final answer. And there's 2 different kinds of graphs you could get. So sometimes your graphs are going to look like this, which is called an OR problem. That's where your 2 graphs go apart from each other. The other kind of graph is called an AND problem. That's when your graph just has a solid line in between. So before we get to our new lesson, let's review how to graph an inequality. One thing you have to know is whether you have a solid dot or an open dot. And that depends on the type of symbol. So if you have a symbol that has this extra line or equal to, then that means you need a solid dot. If you don't have that extra line, then it's an open dot. So you can see these 2 have that extra line underneath, so that's why these are solid dots. These 2 don't have the extra line underneath, and that's why they're open dots. So one thing you need to know is whether it's an open dot or a closed dot. Why is that important? Well, if you're taking a multiple choice test, those little details, you have to be careful to choose the right answer with those little details. So that's why that's important. Okay. So the other thing is, I like to teach this is how to read your actual problem. So the X, we say all the numbers, not just X. We say all the numbers, and in this one it would be greater than or equal to, because it has that extra line. That's what this extra line stands for, equal to. This would be all the numbers less than or equal to. Three. All right. All the numbers greater than or equal to 3. So one way to remember which way your arrow goes is if your big open spot of the symbol is next to X, then that big open spot stands for greater, versus this one. Look over here. This is a small pointy dart. Small pointy dot. This stands for less. So it's whatever's next to the X. The small pointy part stands for less. The big open part stands for greater. Okay, so now this is where we're getting into the lesson because we're going to have to graph our answers. So the arrows are going apart on these 2 graphs. So this stands for OR. Remember, on OR type graphs, the arrows go apart. These are your AND graphs. And remember, there's just a solid line in between. So tomorrow there's a little bit of a lesson that we try and get you to think about the kind of symbol that you're given in the original absolute value problem. So if you have absolute value greater than, we want you to think greater than, great or. So you would have this OR type graph and the arrows would go apart. If you have an absolute value problem with a less than symbol, we want you to think less and, less and, less and, less and. And so what they try and get you to think on the lesson for tomorrow is the word lessen. So lessen means to make something smaller. It's to make something smaller is to lessen it, right? So lessened. So that's just a mnemonic to try and help you to remember what kind of original symbol is given in the problem. Less than sign, lessened, would be an AND graph. Greater than sign, greater, or would be the OR graphs. Okay, so let's actually do a problem. Could you please write this down? You can hit pause. Okay, so we're going to isolate the absolute value. So let's go ahead and subtract 2, subtract, button hit too fast there. There we go. Subtract 2 and subtract 2. Bring down the absolute value. 26 minus 2 is 24. So we isolated. Now we're going to write twice. Once with a positive, no changes, just regular. And once with a negative. And flip the symbol. So that's the new lesson today. So we're going to write it twice. So once just normal, greater than 24. Once again, this time flip the symbol. So we're talking about this symbol and change it to a negative. So we're going to flip the symbol and change it to a negative. See how the symbol is pointing the other way? Okay, our original problem has a greater symbol. So greater. So we should end up with an OR graph, greater, because this symbol right here, whoops, did it again. This symbol right here is an original greater. Okay, so let's see what happens when we actually solve this. Okay, so add 6 to both sides. So 6n greater than 30, divide by 6. So all the numbers greater than 5. On the other side, add 6 on both sides. Negative 24 plus 6 is negative 18. Divide both sides by 6. Both the numbers less than negative 18 divided by 6 is negative 3. So since this original symbol right here is a great OR symbol, great OR, and we're going to put the word OR in between our final answers, and then we're going to graph it. When you have the word OR, you should get a graph that the two arrows go away from each other. Since the symbol didn't have the extra line underneath, then it's going to also be an open dot. So this is our goal, where I'm highlighting right now for our graphs. And that's all based on what kind of symbol. If you just follow along and logically graph it, your graph answer should be just fine. So let's put a 0 here. Let's just graph these one at a time. So this one says all the numbers, big part of the symbol, all the numbers greater than 5. So here's 5. It's going to be an open dot. And all the numbers greater than 5 go this way. So far our graph is looking good because remember this is our goal, right? And then the other part of the answer is all the numbers, and the small pointy part is next to the n. All the numbers less than -3, so let's go to -3. All the numbers less than -3. Okay, so we did good because the graph, the arrows go apart. And we have open dots. So you need 2 things on your homework tonight. You need a final answer and you need a graph. 2 things tonight, okay? All right, moving on to the next one. If you could copy that problem down. Okay, all set. I just want to clean up this word right here. So we're going to make one positive, one negative, and flip the symbol. First thing we have to do is isolate the absolute value. So remember, there's a hidden multiply dot right here. So to isolate, we're going to divide both sides by 3. Bring down the absolute value. 33 divided by 3 is 11. Now we're going to go ahead, once it's isolated, to write it twice, once with a positive. Write it again. But this time, we're going to flip the symbol and change to -11. So see how we flip that symbol so it points the other way and with a -11. Flip symbol, change to negative. Okay, so get started solving that. Oops, sorry. So you would add 1 to both sides. Divide by 2. All the numbers less than 6. And the other side, you would add 1. -11 plus 1 is -10. Divide by 2. Okay. So remember, we're going to go back and look at this original symbol. Since the original symbol stands for less, we're trying to remember it's less end, less end, less end, right? So this time, it's going to be an open dot, right? This time the arrows are going to meet together into one line. So this final answer is going to have an and. So make sure you put the word and in there. And let's hope our graph comes out looking like this one. Okay, so let's hope we get a graph like that. Okay, so let's count by 2s on this one. So 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 0, -2, -4, -6. We're going to need right here the -5 in there. Okay, let's do this graph first. All the numbers less than 6, and it's an open dot, so we go to 6. All the numbers less would be going this way, right? So far so good. And if we do this one, all the numbers greater than -5 with an open dot. All the numbers greater than -5 would be going this way with the arrow, and oh, what do you know? They smash together into one solid line. Okay. And we knew that it should come out to be an and because this original symbol up here was a less. Okay. So there we go. Your homework tonight needs to have final answers and graphs, hopefully a little straighter than mine. Come on, let me fix that. Get it a little bit better. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So here's your homework. You can take a screenshot of this. You can hit pause. There are number lines set up for you there. You can also go on Google Classroom and there's a PDF document that you could print at home if you have a printer. Please make sure your homework is done for tomorrow. Thank you.